Hey, Ari here, leader of the race mixing revolution. Thanks for joining me in this video. I wanted to talk about Calgary in this video. Calgary is my city. Calgary is the city I've lived in my whole life. It's a city in Alberta, Canada. And it's a very important city in terms of Canadian growth because we are very important for the economy of Canada in the oil and gas industry. There's been a lot of controversy around Calgary for its decisions in what we're doing in the oil and gas industry, pipelines, and these kind of things. And at the same time, Calgary is a very undefined city otherwise. The city itself is very new and it's developing all the time. We're constantly building. There's a lot of construction in Calgary, and it's a very conservative city. And so when you come to the city, it's hard to understand exactly what it's about without spending some time here. But I hope that I can shed some light in this video and I can explain to you what a Calgarian looks like, what somebody from Calgary is like. So you might be able to tell from the way I talk that Calgary is a very formal city. We have a lot of rules, we have a lot of things that everyone needs to understand, and everything is very well defined in terms of the technical aspects of the city. It's a very hard-working city. A lot of the people that are here work very hard, work day in and day out, trying to feed their families, trying to do things for the economy, and it's a very progressive city in education and different things because of the fact that a lot of families and people come here to start families, and they know that it's a safe city. Calgary is defined by its safety, it's defined by its simplicity, it's defined by its formality, and it can be very shy sometimes when you talk to Calgarian people. Maybe they're kind of shy, maybe they don't want to prove anything to you, they're not very proud or bashful people or anything like this. And at the same time, there is a underlying culture to Calgary, and it's a very mixed culture. If you go to the northeast part of Calgary or the northwest part of Calgary or the southwest, southeast, we put our city into quadrants, and each of these quadrants has its own vibe. It has its own personality, it has its own culture, and all these different people living in such a way that they interact with each other on some formal levels, and then they go into their homes and they live their family lives at the same time. It's a very interesting strategy that we've kind of created for ourselves in Calgary, and it's working for us. For what it's worth, it's working for us in Calgary. There's nothing wrong with Calgary in particular, but at the same time, there's ways that we can progress as a city. And so that's where race mixing comes into play. I think that race mixing is something that will unlock a lot of the potential in Calgary. And I think that it can be in line with a lot of the economic developments and everything else that we have going on, and that we don't need to just be a very economically focused city. I think we're at the point where we can afford to be culturally developed, and we can do things that other cities aren't doing, and we can compete on a national or international scale with other cities, improving something about our culture, about our philosophies and everything else. I think that we need new goals for Calgary. And the ways that we define those goals is going to be you talking, me talking. I hope that Calgarians are watching this and that we can talk about Calgary more often. Some people talk about Calgary all the time. You can tell they'll talk about Calgary, they'll define Calgary. They already have an idea of Calgary in their mind. But there are still so many people that don't really understand Calgary. They're just here as a matter of fact, and they just say, this is where I'm from. It just becomes the name for the place that they live. It's more of a house than a home. Let's turn Calgary into a home. Let's turn it into a place that we can call home. This is my home. You know, this is my home. As a matter of fact or otherwise, this is my home. Calgary is my home. And it's incredible to see it evolve. And in the future, I want it to change in so many ways as well. How can Calgary change? Calgary can grow in population size. I really hope that a lot of people can come to Calgary, help us grow our city. It can grow in infrastructure. It can grow economically. There are many different things that we can tap into economically that we aren't tapping into now. Different technologies and different specific research advantages that we can give ourselves. It can evolve culturally, so we can attract people with our culture, with our music, art, and our just natural attitude towards life and our rules. There are a lot of social, societal, cultural rules that give people in this city an advantage to do the things they want. Rules are not necessarily something that stop you from doing things. Even to define the rules and boundaries and limits of a city and a culture, that gives you freedom within there because you're not worried about going beyond those limits. And that's something that I hope that Calgary can continue to do in the future. And race mixing is actually something that inspires me because of the conservatism in Calgary. I know that a lot of people might think that race mixing is very open-ended and counter-conservative thing, but it is very conservative in its nature, and I am a very conservative person. Calgarian people that have embraced this city have a conservative attitude, have those conservative philosophies inside of them. So let's tap into that. Let's develop our conservative attitudes, and let's balance it with many liberal attitudes, we can say. Let's balance it with a healthy level of cooperation and social reform and these kind of things that will give us an advantage, and we'll come back to the conservatism. Let's find that balance. There is definitely a cycle that's going on in our country and as well as in our city. So moving into the future, let's make Calgary as best as we can for Canada. Let's make it the best as we can for the world. And I hope that one day it can be a model race mixing city for the rest of the world. And other cities will be able to look at Calgary and say, wow, look at what Calgary has done in the last 10, 20, however many years. I really hope that I can see that in our city. And there is a way that we can do that. The same elements of Calgary same elements that Calgary had before all of its success, we have now. So let's tap into that. I hope that Calgary can inspire immigration on an unprecedented scale, because it has. Up to this point, the level of immigration in Calgary has been unprecedented. Within the last 20, 30 years, the immigration patterns have changed so much, and it's still growing. A lot of people are immigrating to Calgary, and so we have something to prove to those people. Those people have something to prove to us. I am a second-generation Calgarian, and so my children and their children and so on and so forth, they will have different things to prove to me and to the future generations after them. And so let's do that. Let's make Calgary the best that we can make it. Let's tap into all of the untapped resources that we have. And in closing, I wanted to say that race mixing is inspired by the oil and gas industry in a lot of ways, because the oil and gas industry taps into the earth in a way that we as a humanity didn't do for so long. It's something that we were building houses on and we were building civilizations over, and it was lying inside of the ground waiting for us, this mysterious black gold, this oil. And eventually we just started digging and we saw this substance and we could use it, and we have used it on an incredible level and that we would never have expected. I'm sure the first people that discovered oil didn't realize what they were seeing in that substance, in that resource. And now it has completely changed the history of the world. And so I hope that race mixing can do a similar thing. And I hope that I can remember that throughout the rest of my life. I hope that I can remember that it all started with oil. It all started with Calgary. That's incredible. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. I got a lot more videos coming out in the future. Please share my video, copy the link, send it to some people, share it on social media. Please support me on Patreon. As little as $1 a month, you can help me in these very critical early phases of the revolution, help me build it from the ground up. Please remember my words and take them with you into the future. And thanks for watching again. I'll see you next time.